To order. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Fauberg.
Present.
Liebelt.
Present.
Ward.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Econger.
Present.
Nilsson.
Present.
Nordstrup.
Present.
Mayor Shoneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First order of business is to approve this week's agenda. Jordan, did we have a modification? Was new business item E added after the fact?
There's a request to add item 5G, which is a authorization for the city manager to sign a WINS agreement, which is presented in front of you, and I also have copies available up here.
All right. I take a motion to approve this week's printed agenda with the adjustment and modification to add an item G, WINS agreement that Jordan just mentioned.
Moved.
All right. Got a motion from Councilman Johnson and a second from Councilman Econger. Anyone have anything on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Next is our approval of the meeting minutes, which took place at February 23rd last week. I would take a motion to approve those minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilman Liebelt with the motion, Ward with the second. Anyone have anything before we take our vote on that? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. When I rolled in, no one had signed up to speak at open forum. Tim, is that still the case back there? All right, we'll move along to our consent calendar where we now have 2, 4, 6, 7 items of routine city business. A few annexations. We've got a sign hanging license as well as that agreement, of course. I'd take a motion to approve our consent calendar for this week.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ward, second Councilman Econger. Anyone have anything on any of these items? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Old business. First item up is a second reading and final adoption of an ordinance which rezones from R3 to M, property located at 3304 Harrison Street North. It was passed unanimously in first reading last week. Ken, any changes or feedback from anyone?
No changes since first reading.
City Hall still recommends approval of this adjustment and change.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion from Councilman Ronayne, second Councilman Ward. Any last words before we take our final vote on this one? Jordan.
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Nilsson.
Aye.
Nordstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, possible approval of second reading final adoption of a similar ordinance. This one rezones R2 to M, property at 2006 Lawson Street South. Ken, anything new on this?
Thank you, Mayor. No changes since last week. Staff recommends approval.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Got a motion, Councilman Johnson, second Councilman Nordstrup. Anyone from the council have anything? Jordan, second read. Vote on that then, please.
Councilmember Nordstrup.
Aye.
Nilsson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, that motion carries as well. Next, we've got the possible second reading of proposed ordinance, also rezoning from Industrial 1 to Municipal, 4406 8th Avenue Northeast. That is the new water tower. Ken, any feedback or changes to this ordinance?
Again, no changes since first reading. Staff recommends approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion Nilsson, second Ward. Jordan.
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Nilsson.
Aye.
Nordstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, that motion carries as well. We'll move along to our new business where we have a welcome and an update to our leadership class of 2026. I noticed that there was more people in the crowd than normal. Good to see all of you guys. Welcome, welcome. Gail, have you got a few words for us?
Sure.
so we have 31 in our Leadership Aberdeen class this year. They've been very fortunate to attend a legislative coffee as well as Aberdeen Day a couple weeks ago. We do have a little present for everybody on the council, some Aberdeen popcorn made right here at Kessler's, something that we gave to our legislators this year, so I'll pass this. And everybody grab one and take one, different flavors in there. Anyone from the class want to talk about your class project? Do I have a leader in the group? Might have to be Rich, I don't know.
Rich likes
Mr.
to
Mayor?
talk. Go ahead.
I don't know. I do not like to talk. No, I think they could verify that with my abstinence of karaoke as well. So, but really, I just want to thank Gail and the Chamber of Commerce for putting on an incredible class. This is an annual event, so really just speaking overall on it. I guess first, I appreciate Aberdeen Development Corporation. Thank you, my employer, for sponsoring me. I know a lot of you guys feel the same way. A great opportunity. So Gail puts together an incredible program. Go to a lot of different employers. And really, it's, I think Dave said it just a minute ago. It's an investment in people. So I think at each one of the employers that we have, it's a big deal that they're investing in us, guys. So just as a plug for it, take a look, reach out to the Chamber of Commerce, reach out to Gail and her team. They do a phenomenal job at putting together really great coursework, great programs. And really, it's just to elevate the overall, a rising tide raises all boats. So I think this does a great job. It just sets up leadership. It's really important. So thank you guys as the class. I guess just a little touch point on our class project. Maybe Officer Dan Kaiser could talk a little bit about it. Really passionate about it. But we're getting together, I think, what is it? A view from home, I think kind of an artwork project to bring out education resource to help homeless within our community. So it is a problem that we have here, and it might be more of a resource problem that we'd really like to attack and try to get the messaging. What groups, what community organizations exist here, and how can we direct people to them to help get them off the streets? So, Mr. Kaiser, if there's anything I missed, feel free to jump in there, but I've said way too much, Mr. Mayor. So
I think the only thing that's worth touching on is that the leadership class is working with the Homeless Coalition here in town. So we've been going to their meetings, getting involved, seeing what we can do to best support them in their mission and how we can all help out those less fortunate.
Notable cause. Thanks. Dan? Good to see you as always. Thanks, Rich, for that explanation. Move along to our new business item B, which is a possible first reading of an ordinance titled 20-60303 that regards firearms. There's a couple of items for adjustment within our ordinance code. Ron, why don't you kick us through what we'll be changing here tonight if we approve?
Thank you, Mayor Schoeneman. Ordinance number 260303 amends two sections in Chapter 34, and they both regard our firearms regulations. The first is an amendment to Section 34-76, which recognizes South Dakota as a constitutional carry state. What that means is that in 2019, the South Dakota legislature amended the law on concealed carry of a pistol to eliminate the requirement for a permit. The proposed amendment to Section 34-76 brings the ordinance into compliance with state law by accepting the lawful possession and carry of a firearm from the regulation prohibiting the concealed carry of a dangerous weapon. If you'll note at the in the end notes to the ordinance, we identify both the statutes regarding dangerous weapon, which includes a firearm, and then also the change at SDCL 23-7-7 to remove from the general prohibition the requirement that there be a concealed carry permit for a pistol. And then Section 34-77 currently allows pheasant hunting with a shotgun within the 1 mile radius outside of the city limits, and I have provided the council members with a copy of the city limits map, and that's right on our website. And in fact, if we wanted to, I could show it as well. But what we're talking about with Section 34-77 is this 1 mile radius right outside of those city limits. I'm going to use the small capital P for police power, but any municipality in the state of South Dakota has a general municipal police power within 1 mile of their city limits. And that's for the various to enforce the various ordinances regarding safety primarily. And so we are talking about the 1 mile radius, and now this section 3477 amendment will add waterfowl to the permitted hunting. Right now, we do allow pheasant hunting with a shotgun, and this would be waterfowl hunting with a shotgun. The addition of waterfowl hunting provides an opportunity to reorganize confusing language within the section to alert hunters to the residential noise ordinance, to include a no hunting safety zone near occupied structures and public parks, and to make the language of some of the exceptions consistent. The city manager consulted with one of our conservation officers with the South Dakota Game Fish and Parks Department, who had no concerns with the proposed restrictions on waterfowl hunting. So with those two changes to 34-76 and 34-77, Police Chief Jondal and City Administration recommend approval of the proposed ordinance.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Councilman Ward and a second from Councilman Nostrip. So no additional rights or privileges. This just expands the pheasant hunting to be able to include the waterfowl.
Correct. In fact, it expands the rights to our citizens by allowing, number one, them to lawfully possess and carry a concealed weapon without running afoul of our ordinance, and secondly, allows them to lawfully hunt waterfowl within that 1 mile radius outside of city limits. Now, I want to caution everybody, we do have a noise ordinance, and the residential noise ordinance prohibits excessive noise in residential areas between the hours of 7 a.m. and I think 10 p.m. on weekdays. So if somebody is out waterfowl hunting really early in the morning, they may run afoul of that, and no pun intended. They may go contrary to that, and so this change to the ordinance recognizes that they would have to comply with noise regulations. If you'll look at that, the proposed ordinance, if all changes adopted, I typically try to provide the council with both the red line version of the proposed ordinance and then a clean version of that ordinance. And if you look at the clean version, you'll see that it reads a lot better now than it currently does. So.
Ron, how about the cutout areas that are within the city limits, but they're cut out similar to what we'll be discussing here tonight with, I guess we won't there, but by Roosevelt Street, by Easton's Castle, those areas.
We do have pockets within the city of Aberdeen of unannexed properties. Those pockets would not, you could not lawfully hunt those and comply with the hunting safety zone requirement.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
that's what I was gonna ask. Ron, can you explain more? How do we get to a city that has holes in it?
Well, that's I'm going on a limb, and I can't say within the last 40 years that there's been an involuntary annexation by the city. What that means is that any time we've annexed, it's people have come and voluntarily requested that we annex that. We don't ask for more. So what we've seen here over the years is that we've had unannexed properties where the limits have grown around that property, but we didn't make those people come in and annex. So that's why we get these pockets.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask another question?
Please do.
About the hunting. Can you give us a overview of what other communities have had ordinances like this passed and what concerns we might need to have or what successes there have been?
I will confess that I did not look at what other communities are doing with regard to waterfowl hunting within the 1 mile radius.
Chief Jondal, have there been any incidents where safety has been brought to the forefront in terms of pheasant hunting within the 1 mile radius, to your recollection?
I don't know of any specific safety issues that we've had, but occasionally, about once a year, give or take on average, that we run into calls where someone's pheasant hunting nearby that they get called in, but typically they're in compliance. A couple of the spots that come to mind are kind of that Melgard curve. There's fields on both sides there. So, within the 1 mile, but outside city limits, and typically they're outside that 660-foot safety zone.
Great. Well, I applaud you guys for taking this on. And
Mr. Mayor,
oh, go ahead.
I'd like a few minutes to
speak on this if I could. 'Cause
Please do.
I've got
Councilman
some
Econ?
time invested in this. First of all, I wanted to thank Ron for his patience both in putting this together and tolerating me and my questions and coming back and saying, hey, can we look at this way, look at this that way. Historically, in my experience historically, what I've seen, I have not hunted that close to town. I've wanted to on a few occasions for waterfowl, not pheasants, but I was aware of the limitation, and so I never tried to push it. That being said, I know people who have, and the experience that has been found has been very much who happen, first of all, who happens to call, who happens to show up, what do they know, and I don't know of anybody who's actually been ticketed for it. I'm sure at some point we've ticketed somebody for it, but there have been people who have waterfowl hunted near in town, and they get response based on who shows up, to anywhere from you're not supposed to be here, pack it up, to well, good job, you know, you're having a good day, that's fine, you're not bothering anybody, it's fine. So there's been some disparity on what people recognize, because there's a known statement that you can, or a known fact that you can hunt pheasants nearby town, and it doesn't necessarily rationally lead. You wouldn't necessarily expect that, hey, pheasants is the one thing you can hunt near town, not other. It would make more sense to say, well, shotguns are okay, and only shotguns. That would make sense. And so this brings that. Basically brings what would seem like common sense a little more together. Also, it handles it solves our constitutional carry conflict that we've got with the state. So I appreciate Ron identifying that as of late. Now, another piece of this whole puzzle that most people don't recognize or understand is that a lot of people, if you polled the public, I think you would overwhelmingly hear, well, you have to be 660 feet away from a building to hunt. That's not true. You have to be 660 feet away from an occupied building or livestock when you are actually engaged, or when you are actually road hunting. But that restriction doesn't apply anywhere that somebody has granted permission. And so conceivably, although we have not had a problem, but conceivably we could have a problem near, like, I'll throw it out as an example, near Wiley Park. If somebody had permission to hunt just on the other side of the fence from Wiley Park, they could hunt pheasants right now, just on the other side of the fence. And if they did, they could shoot at a pheasant and be actually raining pellets down into Wiley Park. That's not what we want, and I'm knowing hunters as I do, I don't think anybody would actually do that, but we really shouldn't have that exception. So we added a scenario, or we added the 660 foot rule into our ordinance proposal specifically for that, so that well, we're liberalizing, in the classical sense, liberalizing hunting nearby town, we're also restricting how close you can be. This led to another scenario that we thought up, well, the people that are north of town or south of town that live within that mile right now, they can hunt. If we passed this and there's a 660 foot rule, there would be a potential problem. So what we said was, as long as the landowners are okay with it, then it's fine. So conceivably, if you lived south of town and you were just next to your neighbor and nobody else was nearby, you could go ask permission assuming your neighbor is good with it. Hey, go for it. It's fine. We're not trying to create any significantly onerous additional restrictions. However, where this does show up is, like, I'm on the very south edge of Eisenhower Circle. Conceivably, under our current statute, somebody could get permission and pheasant hunt right in my backyard, and right on the edge of my backyard. And as much as I like pheasant hunters, I don't really necessarily want them right on my backyard. Conceivably, that would go away, because they wouldn't get permission from me probably, and they wouldn't get permission from my neighbor, or you would just get it creates a scenario where the general population that lives in an area. It just makes it impractical to get permission from everybody that you would need to hunt. So it creates a 660-foot zone basically around our town.
Ron, could you point us to where it shows that 660 foot within the ordinance change?
Right, if you go to 34-77B1 on the second page, it starts talking about that no hunting within the 1 mile radius may occur within a safety zone of 660 feet from any city ground or park, occupied dwelling, church, or schoolhouse, unless the owner or manager of such property gives permission to hunt within the safety zone. See that?
I do.
So Talmadge is absolutely correct. He pointed out to me in this process what state law, what the limitation is on that with respect to public rights of way, and understood as well that when you're talking about city properties being right on the edge of city properties, that this particular definition of the safety zone would suit our purposes.
Sounds good.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead,
why
Councilman.
did we choose 660 feet?
It is a statutory distance. People are familiar with 660 feet, and frankly, although
That's a hunting
Talmadge
thing?
is right, most people do think they can't hunt within 660 feet. So most hunters are very familiar with that and have a good sense of what that distance means to them.
Got it. Says a non-hunter.
All right. Any further questions or comments before we take our vote on the first reading of this ordinance? All right, Jordan.
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Nilsson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Johnson. Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. First reading passes. Next, first reading of an ordinance titled 260304, which regards air guns and hoax weapons. Ron, would you set this one up for us, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 260304 clarifies section 34-78, which prohibits discharge of listed devices in the city, and creates a new section 34-80, prohibiting an adult from using a hoax weapon in a manner that causes public fear or disruption. So to go on, section 34-78 is expanded to prohibit discharge of devices that are not firearms because they do not use gunpowder, and they can discharge projectiles capable of causing injury to persons or animals. These devices typically use compressed air gas, a spring piston, or a catapult mechanism. And again, because they do not use gunpowder, they are not firearms. And then there's a new section 34-80 that prohibits an adult from using or handling a hoax weapon in a manner that a reasonable person would believe is a real weapon. The manner of its handling must also have caused a serious public alarm, such as a business lockdown or evacuation, or a significant law enforcement response. In addition to punishing a violation as a Class 2 misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of a $500 fine, 30 days in jail, or both, the ordinance provides for a hearing and possible court order restitution by the violator for the cost in manpower and equipment of any public safety agency's response. This ordinance follows recent incidents involving toy look-alike semi-automatic weapons that caused serious public alarm, and in one instance resulted in a school lockdown and the mobilization of numerous police officers and our strategic response team of the Aberdeen Police Department. This ordinance isn't new. It's fashioned after South Dakota statutes that prohibit hoax-destructive devices like fake bombs and hoax substances like a harmless powder packaged as a dangerous chemical. The new section 34-80 it applies only to adults, and the reason that is that if it involves a minor, that takes us into juvenile court, which is not a good place for city ordinances to be. So this will only impact reckless, careless behavior of adults. Police Chief Jonel and City Administration recommend approval of the proposed ordinance.
Jordan, is it possible to pull up on this screen that photograph of that guy that caused this uproar in the very first place? Usually not much of a
You
proponent
want to share? Okay.
for creating a rule based on one circumstance or one individual, but this was pretty heinous, and it did, and it was actually coincided with the day that there was an actual school shooting in Minneapolis that really bared a lot of similarities, and this guy was well within reasonable distance of the Ron Colley Middle School, and so of course it was taken very seriously. looks like a gun, I'm sure that you guys could see, and he was firing that off of a porch in the nearby vicinity. Got quite a response, cost quite a lot of money and trouble, and ultimately the guy didn't get in much of any kind of trouble whatsoever for all of the disturbance and terror that he caused all those kids and school officials and administrators and so forth. So we're going to ramp that up so that in those circumstances, when someone is as reckless and careless as that in the future, they have at least a little bit of recourse. Would someone on the council care
Move
to
to
make a
approve.
motion?
Second.
Motion Ronayne, second Ward. Thoughts from the council?
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I
Go
had
ahead, please.
thoughts on this one as well. I do think that if these were firearms, I would be very, very careful to tread here. These are not firearms. Does not fall into any Second Amendment protection or issue. And I do think that this statute actually, or this ordinance would answer a higher calling to a higher law, and that's one that I learned from my brother-in-law, which is if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. And frankly, we're talking
this
about.
guy's butt? Tell me.
What'd you say?
Are you going to kick this guy's butt or what? What's happening here?
I feel that if the appropriate fines were levied, that well, you'd have to be tough. You'd be working that off, you know.
All right.
The one of the things that I like about this is we're introducing, you know, we're basically addressing. I agree with you actually that I don't like passing ordinances on the basis of one situation. There were actually a couple of situations, but this in this case, we're dealing with people who are not being reasonable. No reasonable person in the current climate would go out and do something like this. And if so, what happens here is now law enforcement gets called. If law enforcement gets called in order to have this come into play, somebody's law enforcement officer has to write a ticket. I'm of the assumption and presumption that most of our law enforcement officers are reasonable individuals. So we've got one layer of reasonable people. Next, the city attorney would prosecute this, and I know Ron to be a very reasonable person, so there's another reasonable person imposed. And then the judge would also be involved. So we've got three layers of reasonable people looking at this before any fine or restitution is imposed. And so I'm pretty confident that this is a good path to go on this. And so I'm distinctly in support of it.
Thank you, Talmadge. Anyone else from the council have any words? Oh, Councilman Johnson.
Mayor, this is relevant while we're still on the topic of firearms and so on. So just wanted to provide an answer to Councilwoman Folberg's question about the magic of 660 feet. Mathematically, it's exactly 1/8 of a mile.
It's what?
Exactly 1/8 of a mile.
Oh,
So
5280
relevant.
is how many a mile is. So you take that divided by 8, and that's what you get, huh?
Fair enough.
That's how she
Well,
works.
thanks for that input. That it makes a little bit more sense. I've chosen that arbitrary sounding number. All right. If there's no one else from the council with input, Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on that first reading then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, that motion carries. Next is a request for a water tower and transmission line progress. It's $1.373 million to Landmark Structures. Destin, who's our assistant city engineer, is here to walk us through the progress of that project itself, as well as what this payment is going to include. Destin, welcome.
Thanks. Yes, this payment is for Schedule B. We don't have a Schedule A payment this month. Work is primarily for the concrete pedestal installation. You should see that. It'll take about the rest of the month to finish that, and then we'll move on to the steel tank. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, second from Councilman Knobstrup. Destin, week before last, we had the big snowstorm. They were going to be pouring that week. I would imagine they were set back. Were they able to get those pours in?
Yeah, I think the last pour was on this last Friday. So I think they got 3 more lifts to do. So that should take about the rest of the month.
Thank you for that update. Appreciate that. Any other questions from the council? All right, did we get our motion?
Yes.
Got our motion, got our second. Jordan, roll call vote for me, would you?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Nilsson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Destin also. This one is the possible approval of a change order, title number 1 for the 2026 water treatment plant roofing improvements project. Are you the guy for that, or is that a Stu thing? All right, kick things back over to your boss.
Thanks, Mayor.
Stu, what are we doing with this roofing project?
So you'll recall a few weeks ago, we approved this recommendation on bids for this project, and at that time, we said we would have a deduct change order coming forth, and this is that. So we're taking the total cost of the project down from about 1.5 to just a little over 1.3 million with this change order. Contractor is planning on getting started as soon as the temps are in his favor to be able to get going on it. Staff would recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Ward. Any questions? As Stu had mentioned, we had discussed it a few weeks back. Moving in the right direction with this one, thankfully. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Nilsson.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, that motion carries. Final roll call vote of the night will be our bills and payroll. The payroll period is for February 22nd through March 7th. I'd take a motion.
I move to pay the bills.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Econger, second from Councilman Nilsson. Jordan?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Nilsson.
Aye.
Econger.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Fauberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
I will abstain to the $48 reimbursement to myself. Otherwise, I will be in favor with an aye, and the motion does carry. Next, we've got our city manager's report. Dave, what have you got for us this evening?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So we'd like to celebrate the 5-year anniversary of Patrick Ott's service to the police department. He's doing a great job. Presentation College graduate, somebody that does training to our newer officers, involved in a lot of collateral assignments. Very friendly. Receive a lot of compliments about his service and dedication. We're just very fortunate to have him on the police department. So thank you, Patrick, for your 5 years of service. And then quickly, we'll talk about our last snow removal process. In general, I think this process went pretty well. I want to thank our public works staff, Stu and Amber, for the communication, and Nancy that they were able to provide the community. And in general, I was pleased with the way it went. There was a decision-making phase, but as the snow ban continued and put more snow on our community, we realized after that 5.5 inch mark that we're probably going to have to do that. And we didn't want to gamble on extreme warm weather to melt it off. So, Stu, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, it went really well. It was a light, fluffy snow, and we didn't have really any wind, so things went really smoothly for our guys. They finished up about 4 or 5 hours early this morning on the overnight stuff. So, and I think things look really good. Pavement's already starting to dry off in a lot of spots. So I think it was the right move to do it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Chief, when I went over to set up my little PowerPoint for the next segment, talking with these young people, I saw there was quite a line of people disputing tickets for parking violations associated with that snow removal on Sunday. Was it an abnormal number, or was it pretty common? It seemed like a lot of individuals.
It's pretty consistent. Usually the first day and a half after a snow event that we ticket until it's pretty busy at the police department with the reviews. Just from my little bit of conversations I had with folks, there's still a number of people in the population that don't sign up for the alerts. So people don't quite know that it's going to be an event. I know there's always a few minor incidents where legally we could ticket until, where maybe we probably shouldn't have. I think we wound up ticketing next to the millstone during breakfast lunchtime That normally wouldn't be something we would do, but overall, unfortunately, pretty standard and still quite a few tickets. I don't have a total yet, but I anticipate it to be upper 200s total.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Anyone else from the council have anything? Okay, we do have an executive session. I don't expect it to take too terribly long, but we will need to clear the gallery for that. We'll have a brief discussion about some confidential commercial or financial information, and then I will join you guys over at the police station. Look forward to visiting with you at that point. So thank you guys for joining us here tonight.